The Ghanaian people are a nationality originating in the Ghanaian Gold Coast. Ghanaians predominantly inhabit the Republic of Ghana, and of the predominant cultural group and residents of Ghana, numbering 20 million people as of 2013. Ethnic Ghanaians make up 85.4% of the total population. The word Ghana means warrior king. Approximately 20 million Ghanaians are residents of the Fourth Republic of Ghana. An additional estimated diaspora population of 4 million people worldwide are of Ghanaian descent. The term ethnic Ghanaian may also be used in some contexts to refer to a locus of ethnic groups native to the Gold Coast. The Republic of Ghana is a natural resource, mineral resource and fossil fuel-rich nation, and is home to one of the world's largest gold and sweet crude oil reserves, and they're the second major producers of cocoa in the world. The Republic of Ghana is an economical powerhouse in West Africa, and has one of the biggest economies on the African continent and one of the world's fastest-growing economies. Origin, ethnogenesis and history. The origin and ethnogenesis of the ancient ethnic Ghanaians is traced back to nomadic migration from Nubia along the Sahara Desert, then south to the Gold Coast, and the Ghanaian ethnogenesis taking place on the Ghanaian Gold Coast region from the 10th century AD to the 16th century AD. The Ghanaians started a lucrative trade with Ghanaian gold bars and other Ghanaian natural minerals to the Portuguese in 1471, and then the Ghanaians became the wealthiest ethnic group and nation-state on the African continent from the 17th century onwards, following successful further expansion of lucrative Ghanaian gold bars trading to the Dutch, Prussian and Scandinavians from the 16th century through to the 20th century. The Ghanaians established a number of powerful kingdoms from the 10th century AD to the 17th century, and the Ghanaians became the dominant military power in the west of Africa. In 1902, the powerful Ghanaian kingdoms had all become a colony of Britain, and the powerful kingdoms was renamed Gold Coast following a series of military battles between the Ghanaians and the British. The Ghanaians gained their independence from Britain in 1957, and renamed the sovereign state Ghana, due to the fact that prehistoric Republic of Ghana was ruled by warriors. The Republic of Ghana was the first African country to gain independence from European colonization. Demography. Out of Ghana's 2013 population of 20 million people in 2013, more than 90% of the Ghanaian citizens in Ghana live in urban areas, a figure higher than the world average. The rate of Ghana's population growth is at the world average. National identity and citizenship. The inhabitants of Ghana possessing Ghanaian passports are 20 million persons, including an additional 3 to 4 million persons abroad. Ghana has a diverse population that reflects its colorful history and the peoples who have populated the region from ancient times to the present, with the historic amalgam of the main groups forming the basis of Ghana's current demographics. Native West Africans make up 98% of the population. There is also a new population of Asians, Middle Easterners, Europeans and other recent immigrants. To obtain Ghanaian nationality, one must be naturalized after 7 years of Ghana card permanent residency. The Asians, Middle Easterners and Europeans who have lived in Ghana for most of their lives have acquired Ghanaian citizenship, which is granted without any discrimination. 67.1% of Ghanaians speak English. There are over 100 ethnic groups, each with its own distinct language. However, languages that belong to the same ethnic group are usually mutually intelligible. There are 9 language family groups, and 11 languages from these groups are officially sponsored by the government. They are Akuapim Twi, Asante Twi, Umafons, Ga, Dangme, Dagbani, Nzem, Dagara, Gonya and Kazim. During the colonial era, a number of Europeans intermarried with Africans and had offspring, who include such notable Gold Coasters as Karel Hendrik Bartels and James Bannerman. Most European settlers left the Gold Coast after it won independence. Currently, the most significant immigrant populations in Ghana are Africans from other countries on the continent, Asians and Middle Easterners, particularly Lebanese and Syrians. Genetics. According to a Y-DNA study by Wood et al., indigenous Ghanaians in Ghana carry 61% E1B1A. Indigenous Ghanaians in Ghana also belong to paternal lineages, 2.2% E1A, and indigenous Ghanaians in Ghana 1.1% E1B1B. Clade berries, a haplogroup which is most common in North Africa and the Horn of Africa. Finally, 1.1% carry West Eurasian haplogroup R1b. Nationalism, independence and transformation to republic. The Ghanaian nationalism was suspended by the Ghanaian government during the time of the World War II, but was resumed in 1945. The Ghanaian allied with the Allies in the World War II. The Fifth Pan-African Congress, held on October 1945, served to form the support for the liberalization of Ghanaian colonial domination on 4 August 1947. On 12 June 1949, Kwame Nkrumah formed the first governing party in the history of the Gold Coast, which did not cooperate with the British and which led to the achievement of Ghanaian independence and the opposition to the 1951 constitution, in which Nkrumah was incarcerated together with his collaborators. On 8 February 1951, the first elections in the history of the Gold Coast were held. Nkrumah's win was confirmed on 12 February 1951. Ghanaian nationalism was initiated, in organization with the Ghanaian nationalist movement, the Big Six, and through the Ghanaian Aborigines Rights Protection Society. Then strikes and mass riots were formed on the streets of the Gold Coast by its natives for Gold Coast independence. The British governor at the time, the Earl of Listowel, proclaimed Gold Coast's independence on 6 March 1957. Nkrumah became the first Ghanaian Prime Minister. On 1 July 1960, Nkrumah drew up the first constitution of Ghana. The British monarch ceased to be head of state, and Ghana became a republic. National borders, regions and terrestrial plains. Population. Approximately 5% of Ghanaian citizens live in rural areas and 95% in urban areas. The rate of urbanization estimated for the period 2010 to 2015 is 4% per annum, one of the highest among developing countries. Subgroups. Ghanaian Arabs are Ghanaians and citizens of Arab origin or descent. Ghanaian Arabs are mainly from Lebanon, Syria and Arab Maghreb. Ghana has the largest Arab population in Western Africa. Ghanaian Chinese are an ethnic group of Chinese diaspora in Ghana. The ancestors of ethnic Chinese migrants to Ghana were of Hong Kong origin. They began arriving in the late 1940s and early 1950s. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, some of the Hong Kong migrants began to bring the wives and children over to Ghana. Migrants from Shanghai also began to arrive around this time. With the economic reform and opening up in the PRC, migrants from mainland China began arriving. Migration from mainland China intensified in the 1990s. Some came as employees, but most were independent traders running import-export businesses or restaurants. The sources of migration have also expanded, whereas earlier migrants came mostly from Hong Kong or Shanghai. Later Chinese migrants have arrived from Guangdong and Henan as well as the Republic of China on Taiwan. As of 2009, there were an estimated 700,000 ethnic Chinese migrants that have settled in Ghana. Ghanaian Indians are Ghanaians and citizens of Indian origin or descent. Many Ghanaian Indians are descendants of those who migrated from India following India's partition in 1947. Diaspora. There are 3 to 4 million Ghanaians in the diaspora. Ghanaian Australians are dual citizens with Australia and residents of Ghanaian origin and descent. More than 50% of all Ghanaian-born Australians live in Sydney, New South Wales. Ghanaian Americans are dual citizens with America and residents of Ghanaian origin and descent. Ghanaian Britons are dual citizens with Britain and residents of Ghanaian origin and descent. Ghanaian Jamaicans Coromantee was the name given to Ghanaian Coromantee labourers imported from the Gold Coast to modern-day Ghana. The term Coromantee is now considered archaic as it simply refers to Akans, and was primarily used in the Caribbean. Coromantees actually came from several Akan subgroups, predominantly Coromantee, presumably taken as war captives. Owing to the militaristic background and common Akan language, the Coromantees had the single largest African cultural influence on Jamaica, including Jamaican Maroons whose culture and language was seen as a derivation of Coromantees. Names of some notable Coromantee leaders such as Cudjoe, Cuffy, and Kwamina correspond to Ashanti Day names and Ghanaian names Kojo, Kwame, Kofi, and Kwamina, respectively. Ghanaian Surinamese and Guyanese Nuka or Orkan or Okanisi Sama are a Ghanaian Akan subgroup who live in eastern Suriname and west of French Guiana and speak the Nuka language, a sublanguage of the Akan language. They were shipped as imported laborers slaves from the Gold Coast to Suriname about 300 years ago to work on Dutch-owned plantations. Ndiakas or Orkans are subdivided into the Opu, who live upstream of the Tapanahoni River of southeastern Suriname, and the Bilo, who live downstream of that river. They further subdivide themselves into 14 matrilinear kinship groups called Lo. Ghanaian society and culture. Ghana's cultural diversity is most evident in cuisine, arts, literature, heritage, music, dance, clothing, and sports. Kente is a Ghanaian ceremonial cloth traditionally used as the national costume. Kente is hand-woven on a horizontal treadle loom in strips measuring about 4 inches wide, which are sewn together into larger pieces of cloth. Cloths come in various colors, sizes and designs, which have different meanings, and are worn on important social occasions. During the 13th century, Ghanaians developed the unique art of adinkra printing. Notable Ghanaian authors include novelists A.Y. Kwame and J. E. Casely Hayford, author of Osiris Rising. In addition to novels, other literary genres such as theatre and poetry have been well developed at a national level. Ghanaian music incorporates several distinct types of instruments such as talking drums, the atentabon and koloko lute, the atumpan, and log xylophones used in Asonko music. The most well-known genre to come from Ghana is highlife. Highlife originated in the late 19th century and early 20th century. In the 1990s, a new genre of music, hiplife, was created through the combination of highlife, Afro-reggae, dancehall and hip-hop. Hiplife is the most popular Ghanaian music, followed by the other genre of Ghanaian music, highlife. Ghanaian dance is globally well known and performed worldwide. The dances are varied and may involve complex and coordinated movement of the arms, torso, hips, feet and head. performed to different Ghanaian music forms for entertainment, celebrating at festivals, and other occasions. Some popular dances include Adora and Azonto. Other traditional dances from Ghana are Kapan Logard, Klama and Bamaya. Sports in Ghana is dominated by association football represented by the Ghana Premier League and the Ghana national football team. Women in Ghanaian society, polygyny, marriages in which men are permitted to have more than one wife at the same time, has been traditionally practiced, especially among well-to-do Ghanaian men. Among matrilineal groups, such as the Akan, married women continue to reside at the maternal homes. Meals prepared by the wife would be carried to the husband at his maternal house. In polygynous situations, visitation schedules would be arranged. The separate living patterns reinforced the idea that each spouse is subject to the authority of a different household head, and because spouses are always members of different lineages, each is ultimately subject to the authority of the senior men of his or her lineage. The wife, as an outsider in the husband's family, would not inherit any of his property, other than that granted to her by her husband as gifts in token appreciation of years of devotion. The children from this matrilineal marriage would be expected to inherit from the mother's family. Today, the percentage of women in polygynous marriages in Ghana's rural areas is almost double that of women in Ghana's urban areas. The age group with the most women in polygynous marriages is 45 to 49, followed by the 15 to 19 age group and the 40 to 44 group. Rates of polygynous marriages decrease as education level and wealth level increase. During 2008 to 12, the national literacy rate for women aged 15 to 24 was 83.2%, only slightly lower than that for males of the same age group. However, literacy rates fluctuate across Ghana country and socio-economic statuses. By regions of Ghana, literacy rates for females range from 44% to 81%. Women living at the highest socio-economic status exhibit the highest literacy rates at 85%, while only 31% of women living at the lowest socio-economic status illiterate. Over the time span of 2008 to 12, 4% more females were enrolled in preschool than males. Net enrollment and attendance ratios for primary school were both about the same for males and females. Net enrollment standing at about 84% and net attendance at about 73%. Enrollment in secondary school for females was slightly lower than for males, but female attendance was higher by about the same difference. As of 2011, women made up 66.9% of economically active population in Ghana. Within the informal sector, women usually work in personal services. There are distinct differences in artisan apprenticeships offered to women and men as well. Men are offered a much wider range of apprenticeships such as carpenters, masons, blacksmiths, mechanics, painters, repairers of electrical and electronic appliances, upholsterers, metal workers, car sprayers, etc. In contrast, most female artisans are involved in either hairdressing or dressmaking. Women generally experience a disparity in earnings, receiving a daily average of 6,280 cedis compared to 8,560 cedis received by men, according to the Ghana Living Standard Survey. Women are flourishing in teaching professions. Early 1990s data showed that about 19% of the instructional staff at the nation's 3 universities in 1990 was female. Of the teaching staff in specialized and diploma-granting institutions, 20% was female elsewhere. Corresponding figures were 21% at secondary school level, 23% at middle school level, and as high as 42% at primary school level. Women also dominated the secretarial and nursing professions in Ghana. When women were employed in the same line of work as men, they were paid equal wages, and they were granted maternity leave with pay. However, women in research professions report experiencing more difficulties than men in the same field, which can be linked to restricted professional networks for women because of lingering traditional familial roles. Feminist organizing has increased in Ghana as women seek to obtain a stronger role in the democratic government of Ghana. In 2004, a coalition of women created the Women's Manifesto for Ghana, a document that demands economic and political equality as well as reproductive health care and other rights. The NCWD is fervent in its stance that the social and economic well-being of women, who compose slightly more than half of the nation's population, cannot be taken for granted. The Council sponsored a number of studies on women's work, education and training, and on family issues that are relevant in the design and execution of policies for the improvement of the condition of women. Among these considerations, the NCWD stressed family planning, child care, and female education as paramount. The government of Ghana in 2007 took legal proceedings to prosecute men who abuse the women. Republic of Ghana. In 1966, Nkrumah was deposed, after which Ghana entered a period of military rule. On the 31st of December 1981, the regime led by Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings installed the Provisional National Defense Council, of which he became chairman. In 1992 and 1992, Rawlings retired from the military and set up the National Democratic Congress, and was subsequently elected for 2 terms as president. In 2002, John Agyekum Kufuor succeeded Rawlings as Ghanaian head of state until the year 2008. Kufuor was replaced as Ghanaian head of state by John Atta Mills until 2012. In 2013, John Dramani Mahama succeeded Mills as the Republic of Ghana Supreme Commander-in-Chief and President of Ghana.